Q30 Newscast, we have breaking news out of Minneapolis. Derek Chauvin's guilty verdict. Plus, Quinnipiac is bringing COVID-19 vaccines onto campus for students.
Also, students can spend their meal points at the bookstore to buy apparel like this, and learn more how a Quinnipiac student is running their own business during the pandemic. All this and more coming up on the Q30 Newscast.
Good evening and welcome to the Q30 Newscast. I'm Cassidy Berger.
And I'm Samantha Pirelli.
News broke only hours ago out of Minneapolis. Derek Chauvin has been found guilty on all 3 counts in the murder of George Floyd.
We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 1, unintentional second-degree murder while committing a felony, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April 2021 at 1:44 p.m.
The 3 counts were unintentional second-degree murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter. Sentencing will take place in 2 months.
Quinnipiac continues to stay at a low green risk level. There are currently 45 active cases in campus isolation. Quinnipiac reported 17 new cases today out of 2,442 tests. This data covers the last 5 days and shows a small uptick in case numbers on campus.
Out of these 17, 11 are residential students, while 6 reside off campus. These new cases represent a 0.7% positivity rate. Last week's positivity rate was 0.4%. There have been 367 cases this entire semester, representing a 0.5% positivity rate. Good news for students wishing to get their first dose at Quinnipiac. Quinnipiac is trying to bring the vaccines to them. Matt Dronsick has the story.
On Friday, April 18th, the Quinnipiac community was notified about the possibility of a vaccine clinic coming to campus. In an email sent by Bethany Zemba, the university is currently working with Griffin Health to arrange an on-campus COVID-19 vaccination clinic starting next week. Despite the wait, students like Caitlin Regan believe bringing the clinic on campus is a great idea.
I do think it is a good opportunity for people who want to get it, but they're not really sure on where to go or the process of it.
For those looking to take part in these vaccinations, they would need to complete the I want to be vaccinated form so the university can determine how many doses of the vaccine to secure for the clinic. Even though the current dates are not set in stone, Julia Fabrizio believes the vaccination clinic will incentivize others to make the right decision.
I think maybe people will start wanting to and feel that there's more of an initiative to get it because it's so readily available, and they'll want to do it just because things could be closer to getting back to normal.
For now, while the clinic will be held for students only, Dr. David Hale has not ruled out the idea of opening the site to the public.
Right now we're focusing on students, but we'll have to see how many doses we get, and you'll see that there's an early indication of whether or not you want to be vaccinated. This isn't your scheduling appointment. This is your indication of interest. And we'll just see what Griffin can provide in terms of total doses, how much the interest there is in the students before we open it up.
In the email sent by Zemba, the vaccination clinic will be for students looking to get their first shot. For those looking for their second, they'll either have to schedule an appointment in their hometown or come back to campus 3 weeks after it closes. Matthew Juronsik, Q30 News.
As we are near the end of the semester, students are required to continue to get their on-campus COVID tests. The tests are still available on Monday and Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Dr. Hill warns students that if they don't get tested on their designated testing days, it will result in being kicked off of campus.
Maybe it's 20 to 30 or so students each week that don't test, and it's not always the same students, so it seems to be a revolving a group of students. But if you miss it now, just because we're getting close to the end of the semester, so if you're a residential student and you don't get tested and you don't fulfill that requirement within the 48 hours that we give you, that you will be removed from housing for the rest of the semester.
For students who are struggling to find ways to spend their meal points before the semester is over, Chief Student Experience Officer Tom Ellett announced that students can now spend their meal points in the bookstore. Q30's Vanessa Blasi has more.
For students who still have a ton of meal points left on their Q cards, you're in luck. Quinnipiac's Chief Student Experience Officer, Tom Ellett, just announced that students can now use their meal points at the bookstore for this week only. This special announcement comes after many complaints about students having too many meal points for them to spend. Tom Ellett says the decision was not up to him, yet he is glad it is happening.
The meal points are actually owned by Chartwells, right? And so they're making a one-time accommodation because of the leftover points from the carryover, et cetera, to try to give students more options to use those points.
Yesterday, on the first day of this deal, many students came out of the bookstore with loads of clothes in their hands, but the lines to get in were dreadful.
So we got into line a couple minutes before 9, and we figured we would be ahead of the game, but clearly not, and so we've been in line for an hour and 45 minutes now.
Students were lined up outside for hours, and some believe these lines could have been avoided.
Maybe they should let us do it online. If we could just plug in our ID number and use the meal points that way, that would be easier.
Students are able to use their points for anything in the bookstore except electronic devices and textbooks. The last day to get your Quinnipiac gear is this Friday. I'm standing outside the bookstore where the line to enter has reached the quad. Students began lining up very early this morning, even though the bookstore didn't open until 9 a.m. The real question is whether or not there will be anything left by the end of the week. I'm Vanessa Blasi for Q30 News.
Residence halls are closing soon, which may leave some students with a storage issue for the summer. Quinnipiac is partnering with a company that offers a solution.
I began talking about this with Sarah Driscoll in the International Affairs Office, and it was an outgrowth of a desire to provide options for international students who, when they go home for the summer, often have a difficult time arranging storage and transporting their items and putting them in storage, etc.
This past weekend, Quinnipiac held their annual Q-thon event. This year, due to COVID restrictions, the event was held outside on the quad. Although the Miracle families could not be there in person, they all had the chance to join virtually. Members of Q-thon were still able to have their morale dance at the top of every hour. Towards the end of the night, Q-thon ended up raising over $200,000 for the kids. Earlier today, the Student Government Association hosted the first ever Bobcat Day. Today was filled with carnival games, free food trucks, t-shirts, and much more. SGA hopes to make Bobcat Day a tradition for years to come. SGA President Sophia Marshall talked about how excited she was for the event.
It's going to be a lot of prizes, a lot of spirit all around. I'm really excited for the different speakers that we have. I think they're all very talented. Our orgs are really excited to perform as well. So, I'm just really excited to see that and to have everybody come out.
This year, due to COVID guidelines, they were required to register for each event before attending.
We're about to take our first break of the night, but stay tuned to learn how you can use an app to avoid long lines at the dining hall.
Plus, we have Carly McManus here to tell us the latest with the COVID-19 vaccine in her national news update. But first, we have a brief weather update from Clever Strife. Clever?
Welcome to the forecast for this weekend. Let's take a look. As you can see here, we have our weekend update for weather over here. We have a little bit of rain on Wednesday. We have a high of 63 and a low of 33. On Thursday, we are going to have a nicer day a little bit, though. We're going to have a little bit more sun, high of 50, low of 35. And on Friday, prepare for a really nice-looking weekend. It's going to be a start with a high of 60 and a low of 42. So a little bit of a rocky start to this weekend's weather, but thankfully it is going to clear up very, very soon. And that is a little bit of a weather look into for this week.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies. Selfie, nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's put a ride home.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. He's here. He's here. Wait. What? I can't drive. Why? My. Oh.
A legend in the New Haven pizza world has passed away. Gary Bamonte, owner of Frank Pepe's Pizza in New Haven, has died. The news was confirmed by Bamonte's family on April 8th in a statement saying, quote, Gary was a wonderful brother, son, uncle, and friend to so many, and he was loved by all of us. Gary was the pride and joy of the Pepe's family, and there are no words to express the immense void that his passing has left in our hearts. He truly loved and cherished our family's history, and he was so proud of the legacy that has carried through all these years, end quote. New Haven Mayor Justin Elicker and U.S. Senator Richard Blumenthal offered their condolences to the Bamonte family. Age restrictions for the COVID-19 vaccine are lifting all across the country.
Plus, gun violence has been a top story all week. To tell us more about this and more is Carly McManus. Carly, what do you have for us?
Hi, Bobcats. I'm Carly here with this week's national news update. A lot has been happening, so let's get right into it. As of yesterday, people ages 16 and above nationwide are eligible to receive the COVID-19 vaccination. The Pfizer vaccine is the only one still approved for kids ages 16 to 18. The CDC announced Monday, which ties back to the nationwide eligibility goal set by President Joe Biden earlier in his presidency. White House COVID-19 correspondent Andy Slavitt said, quote, we are going to make sure everybody, no matter where you are in the country, has ample opportunity to get vaccinated, end quote. Studies show that 90% of all U.S. adults have a place where they can be vaccinated within 5 miles from where they live. In addition to this, many have moved to expand their vaccine distribution programs to its citizens. Tragic news from Indianapolis this past week, where 9 people, including a gunman, were killed after the gunman opens fire at a FedEx warehouse. This happened late Thursday, leaving 5 survivors with gunshot wounds and some in critical condition. FedEx released a statement stating, end quote, our most heartfelt sympathies are with those affected by these senseless acts of violence. The safety of our team members is a top priority, and we are fully cooperating with this investigation, end quote. This event comes after a rise in shootings, leaving recently many Americans devastated, to say the least. Since the start of the pandemic, many Americans have struggled financially as the economy has severely declined. The American economy has taken a big hit during the pandemic, and a new study from Commerce Department shows that sales are rising. The NPR states, quote, retail sales soared 9.8% in March, according to a report Thursday from the Commerce Department. The increase follows a 2.7% slump in February, which analysis blamed partially on severe winter weather, quote, end quote. The surge is being fueled by shoppers spending their $1,400 relief checks, and in some cases, the vaccine is leaving many to feel a new sense of security. That is all I have for national news, and back to you guys on the desk.
Thank you, Carly. The university announced a Check the Wait application, which helps students see how long lines are with 17 cameras placed in different locations on campus. Melanie Carreri has the story.
Are you someone who hates waiting in lines? Well, there's no need to worry with this new app pitched by the Student Government Association that allows you to check the lines at the hotspots in the North Haven and Mount Carmel campus. The new app displays a total of 17 locations at Quinnipiac. The idea was pitched by the Student Government Association a few years ago, but is now ready for students to use during the pandemic.
I think this is a big thing for the school because it helps a lot with COVID and everything, because even now we see the lines outside the bookstores crazy, and that's like not the best thing for congestion and COVID and trying to social distance and whatnot. So that's probably the main reason they instituted it, just so students can schedule their time better around campus and everything like that, and decide like where and when, how they want to go about their day.
Hotspots not only include the cafeteria, but also Starbucks, the post office, and more. The university installed 17 security cameras for the app. The goal is to help control crowds and allow students to plan their day.
No one wants to wait in lines. No one wants to lines where it's a crowded area, particularly over there in Mount Carmel, the student center, because you've got people coming in and out of the cafeteria and waiting in line. So, you know, it's just kind of to help increase that social distance that we need to be observing right now.
Students can search checkthewait.qu.edu and log in with their student credentials. Melanie Carreri reporting for Q30 News.
The annual Sigma Chi Virtual Research Conference will be taking place this week. Students will get the opportunity to show their current research on their latest projects in front of scientists and faculty. The judging of each live presentation will be held next Monday, April 26th from 1 to 3 p.m. Student awards will also be announced shortly after the judging period.
The Quinnipiac Car Club held its annual spring car show this past weekend. Club members showed off their vehicles in North Lot instead of its usual location on York Hill. President Olean was in attendance to hand out the first place trophy. Now, I've been to a few car shows with my parents before. They're actually really involved in car racing. Do you have any favorite classic cars?
I would have to say mine would have to be a Corvette. There's just something really classy about it. When we come back, will it storm or stay sunny? We've got the latest weather report from Clever Strife.
Plus, hear what the CDC has to say about international travel. Karina Kamey is here for a full politics update.
Honey, what I think you need is a socket wrench.
I played JV basketball.
I'm sorry. I don't think it looks right.
This is good, and it's all good, baby.
Is it really all good?
If you love me enough to routinely test your handyman skills, not to mention the strength of your marriage, then of course you'll visit nhtsa.gov/therightseat to make sure I'm in the right car seat.
I'm gonna call my dad.
The weather has been so dramatic lately, and I don't know about you, Cassidy, but I'm ready to put away my winter coat for good.
Oh, definitely me too. At least it was beautiful out today. I'm looking forward to some sunny weather for this weekend too. Let's go back to Clever Strife for a full weather update.
We have a full weather update indeed. First, we're going to take a look at the current temperatures in Connecticut. We got 39 degrees in Torrington, 42 degrees in Danbury, so a little bit chilly. You might want to pack a jacket here. Hartford has 45 degrees on the night. New Haven, New London, Norwich, each sporting 46 degrees right now. But it's looking a little bit brisk. You might want to pack a jacket for the evening, and you might want to get ready for a nicer weekend of temperatures here. But you can see the current temps that we've got all around the state of Connecticut. A nice, sort of smattering of the 40s and the 30s here. But we're going to take a look in just a moment at our 7-day update. So we're going to take a look at this week in weather. We're going to start out with a little bit of a rough patch here, a Wednesday that's going to be marked with some rain. High of 63, low of 33. So it should be high weather, but unfortunately low results if you're looking to get outside. Thankfully, the next couple of days should be nicer. It's going to be sunny on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and on Sunday there's going to be some rain, but to close out the week, you should be able to get outside and enjoy yourselves and enjoy your weekend. Let's head back to the desk.
Thank you, Clever. On Saturday, April 17th, the New Haven Police Department has held their 4th gun buyback event. The city exchanged the guns for gift cards for those who decided to participate. The event was anonymous with a no questions asked policy. A majority of the weapons were shotguns, handguns, and they even collected 2 assault rifles. By the end of the event, they collected $10,000 worth of firearms. This tradition will continue to help keep the community safe. At a Zoom council meeting held on April 5th, Yale professor Valerie Horsley interrupted Councilman Justin Farmer in what protesters refer to as racist behavior, During the meeting, Farmer referred to Horsley as councilwoman. She then demanded to be called doctor. Horsley turned to Facebook and called Farmer's councilwoman remark to be sexist. This led to protesters in Hamden fighting for Horsley to step down from the Hamden Legislative Council.
On a personal level, we are colleagues. I do not have the privilege to not work with anyone. My community is too disenfranchised, so I am willing to partner and work with you on any and every issue. But moving forward, we have to hold each other accountable. I hope you will do that, and I will do the same. And I hope we can always do that from a perspective of policy and not do it from a personal level.
The CDC has new recommendations for international travel, and we look to Minneapolis for the trial of Derek Chauvin. We have Karina Kamey in the studio tonight to give us an update on these stories and more in tonight's Politics Report.
Thanks, guys. The State Department announced just yesterday that it will be updating travel abroad guidelines to more closely align with those recommended by the CDC. The new rules will, quote, result in a significant increase in the number of countries at level 4, do not travel to approximately 80% of countries worldwide, end quote. On its travel advisory page, the CDC notes that, quote, international travel poses additional risks and that even fully vaccinated travelers can get and spread possible new COVID-19 variants. The Washington, D.C. National Guard stated Monday that the United States Army has approved sending 250 members ahead of the upcoming Derek Chauvin trial, decision that is expected to cause unrest throughout the city. This move comes amidst nationwide tensions and protests of police brutality and the potential emotions that may be stirred up following the decision of the Chauvin trial for the death of George Floyd. D.C.'s Director of Homeland Security, Dr. Christopher Rodriguez, called the request precautionary and said they are asking for support with traffic management and security, as well as quick reaction in the event of, quote, large-scale protests. Former Vice President Walter Fritz Mondale has passed away at 93 years old. He passed at his downtown home in Minneapolis, surrounded by his loved ones. Mondale served as the state's Attorney General in 1960 and was later named to the U.S. Senate. Mondale represented Minnesota in the Senate from 1964 until 1976, when he signed on as Jimmy Carter's vice president. Mondale won the Democratic presidential nomination himself in 1984 and made history by naming a woman, U.S. Representative Geraldine A. Ferraro of New York, as his running mate. He has ultimately lived a full life full of service to the people, and we are wishing his remaining family and friends well. That's all I have for this political update today. Back to you guys, Cassidy and Sam.
Thank you, Corinna. Don't go anywhere, because after the break, we have Dylan Summer in the studio to give us the latest on all things sports.
Plus, Kate Pattyfoot has a scoop on a Quinnipiac student and her successful business operation. We'll be right back.
I think it's just vapor with flavor.
It won't hurt my kid like cigarettes, right?
Vaping is safer than smoking, isn't it?
There's really not even that much nicotine in them, right?
My kid?
My kid knows it's dangerous.
Get your head out of the cloud. Today, nearly 8,000 kids will start vaping, maybe even yours. Learn about the dangers at talkaboutvaping.org.
Meet the Scan, a simple procedure whose mission is to detect lung cancer early.
I'm here to save you.
But I feel fine.
That's great, but you may still be at high risk for lung cancer.
Oh man, that's a new fence.
If you smoke, early detection could save your life. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
I think it's just vapor with flavor.
It won't hurt my kid like cigarettes, right?
Vaping is safer than smoking, isn't it?
There's really not even that much nicotine in them, right?
My kid?
My kid knows it's dangerous.
Get your head out of the cloud. Today, nearly 8,000 kids will start vaping, maybe even yours. Learn about the dangers at talkaboutvaping.org.
Thanks for staying with us on the Q30 Newscast. We have Dylan Summer on deck to catch us up on all things Quinnipiac sports.
And we have the story on a Quinnipiac student running her own business. But first, over to Dylan.
Thank you, Sam and Cassidy. It's been another eventful week in the world of Quinnipiac sports. Let's get started by heading to the pitch for the MAC Championship Finals between Monmouth and Quinnipiac. The first-seeded Bobcats threw everything they had against the sixth-seeded Hawks on Saturday afternoon, but fell short 1-0 in the championship match. The lone Monmouth goal came in the 86th minute of play when Julian Gomez broke the tie and locked things up, thanks to the feed from Nick Rogers. This is Monmouth's 7th MAC Conference victory and their first since 2014. With the victory, the Hawks will advance to the 2021 NCAA tournament in North Carolina to take on Bowling Green. Next, let's recap what happened this past Saturday at the Lacrosse and Soccer Stadium when men's lacrosse took on the Canisius Golden Eagles. Quinnipiac's Dylan Donnery had a huge outing, with the first-year attacker putting up a career-high 5 goals and 6 shots on net. In addition, junior Will Abbott and sophomore Jake Tellers were key offensive contributors, as they tallied over 5 points as well. Junior goaltender Nick DiMuccio also made 15 saves en route to the Bobcats' 16-12 victory over Canisius. With the win, Quinnipiac improves their record to 4-2, tying Monmouth for first in the MAC. As the season winds down, the Bobcats will look to make their final push before the playoffs when they take on Marist tonight and on Saturday afternoon as they face the Detroit Mercy Titans. Finally, a look at the latest awards and accolades in men's ice hockey. For the fourth time in program history, a Bobcat has been named to the first all-USCHO team. Former Quinnipiac captain and new Tampa Bay Lightning signee, Odin Tufto, has joined a short list of Bobcat greats to be named to this honor, adding onto his growing list of accolades from his senior year, including a Hobie Baker finalist nomination and being named ECAC Hockey Player of the Year. This upcoming season, Tufto will next look to his transition to his ECAC dominance to the AHL as he begins steps with the Syracuse Crunch this fall. And that's all for sports. Let's head back to the desk.
Lastly, we have an inspiring story of a student who has managed to operate a successful business despite the challenges thrown her way by the pandemic.
Q30's Kate Pattyfoot has the full story.
Cody Greenway is a junior finance major and is already on her way of being an entrepreneur.
I first started in high school, I want to say 2018. I just was looking for like another, hobby to do. So I started my business, but it was called K & Co's Extensions before.
Co's Collection is her collection of eyelashes, accessories, and clothes.
The start of Co's Collection was June 1st, 2020. So I'm about to make my 1-year anniversary in 2 months.
Now, she used her time from quarantine last year to rebrand her business.
YouTube helped me. There's a whole bunch of entrepreneurs on YouTube. And over quarantine, I just would stay up until 6 o'clock in the morning, just doing my research, writing it down, figuring out how I want to take the knowledge that I got from them and adapt it to my business. And then I've been growing since.
Her packaging and shipping details were all carefully thought out.
My lashes, it does come in a suitcase. So you could pull this up and then you could roll it back and forth. You could put this down and then it does open. Airco, since it's Co's Collection, so it's Airco. And then it has your full name from, so since we're based off in New York, it's always gonna say from. And then 2 is the name of your lash. So because this lash is called Tahiti, it says to Tahiti. So it's like you're taking a flight from New York to Tahiti.
She hopes to expand this to something bigger. For Q30 News, I'm Kate Pattyfoot.
That's all the time we have for tonight. Thanks for watching, and be sure to stay up to date on all your Quinnipiac news at our Twitter, Q30 News.
And before we sign off for the night, I wanted to say a sincere thank you to everyone behind the scenes and anyone who has been a part of this show during my time here at Quinnipiac. I began my time with Q30 as a general member of news, and I've loved every second. Even when Brooke Riley told me I smiled too much on camera. This show is in great hands, and I'm so proud to say that I've been part of it. So for my co-host Samantha Pirelli, and one more time, I'm Cassidy Berger. Good night, Bobcats.